Hey guys, and welcome. My name is Illusion, and today I'm going to be bringing a introduction slash beginner's guide to modded Minecraft. I see the question all the time about how do I get into modded Minecraft, where do I start, what mods to start with. So hopefully this guide can kind of clear up some of those questions. This will be a multi-part series, so be sure to check out all of the different videos. Um, for this video, I'm going to be using the Direwolf 20 pack. That seems to be a very good introduction mod pack, and it's really super easy from the FTB launcher. So before we get into the meat of it, I want to show you just quick tips about just navigating around. Also, I should say that you should have a basic understanding of vanilla Minecraft before you jump into modded Minecraft. It'll just really help you transition into a more enjoyable experience. So let me show you a few things. In this pack, we're using the Opus map. Press M to bring up your map, and you can kind of scroll around. That's how you can use your map function. Scroll wheel on your mouse to zoom in and zoom out. Alright, so that got that. This Direwolf 20 pack does have the hats mod, so you press H to bring up your hats mod, and you can change to different hats. So cool. This pack also has morph. To change your morph, you're going to hit the left or right bracket. You'll see kind of a tab over from the left, and mouse wheel up and down to change your morphs. Um, so if I change here, you can see I'm a pig with a hat on. So that's kind of how that works. So we'll switch back to this. Let's get into the inventory. So on the right side, you're going to see all these icons. This is NEI, not enough items. Basically, it's a recipe and kind of a guide system to help you pick what you need and find the right recipe for it. So to find a recipe, you're just going to mouse over something and press R. That'll give you your recipe for it. Some things may have multiple recipes, so it'll give you. Let's see, find something with multiple recipes. This does, I know for sure. Nope. But anyway, you get the idea. It'll give you some multiple recipes. You can also press U over an item, and it'll give you uses for that particular item. So cool. So we got NEI out the way. You have some weather control and daylight, nighttime settings, rain control as well. Also, if you go into here, you can change between your cheat mode and your recipe mode, depending on what you need to do. F3 will pull up your screen. It also tells you which biome you're in. And also, when you go into your map, you can mouse over it. You can see what kind of biome is at the bottom of that on your Opus map. So pretty cool. That's some really basic functionality of the user interface. So we're in a magical forest biome, and we'll start getting into the next section. Okay, so let's start talking about some tools and swords, pickaxe, shovels, that type of thing. So I'm going to break it into two different categories. I'm going to call it traditional tools, and then I'm going to call it Tinker's Construct tools. So what I mean by traditional tools, I mean that's your wooden and stone, iron, gold, diamond from vanilla Minecraft. Also, we have a flux and fused sword from Redstone Arsenal. And you're also going to see there's some other swords from some of the other mods, like Twilight Forest. We have a bronze sword from IC2. So that's kind of your traditional, I'm going to call them traditional swords. Also with Tinker's Construct, you can make different types of tools. Now, since I'm still breaking these two categories, this applies to both, or I'm sorry, all the tools. So if I go into pickaxe, you're going to see again we have the traditional, and we have the flux infused, as well as we have Tinker's Construct. Tinker's Construct is one of my favorite mods. It allows you to basically mix and match your parts of the tool based on what you need. If I pull down a tool forge from Tinker's Construct, you're going to see I have the availability so I can get whatever kind of sword I want, or in this case, the pickaxe. So I can pick the pickaxe head that I want, the binding, and a tool rod. Same thing if I want to make. There's several different types of swords. There's actually 3 listed, and there's a 4th one that's kind of hidden, but you can still make. And each of these different types of swords, in this case right here, as I have shown, have different attributes that they can do. So if I jump back to NEI, and I pull up a, let's pull up a pickaxe head. So these are the different types of pickaxe heads you'll see. So we have a stone one, we have just like kind of like vanilla, flint, cactus, bone, obsidian, and some higher end like cobalt and aurotite. So that's kind of your 2 different types of swords. So also if I jump into this book that you're going to get when you spawn in a new world, you're going to have materials and use. So this is the Tinker's Construct book that'll get you started in Tinker's Construct. So I'm not going to get into it too much, but it'll give you a good introduction. If I can jump over here to this book. This book is called Materials and You. So it'll kind of show you what swords and what tools do what. And then towards the end of the book, you'll see which stone or which material does what. So let's say this stone has a durability of 131 uses. Once you get above iron, you actually have to get the use of the smeltery. So if you want more information about Tinker's Construct, then check out my Tinker's Construct guide or go on YouTube and Google it. Of course, I recommend getting mine, but I understand. So anything of the metallurgic, you're going to have to use a smeltery. So pretty cool. So that's kind of where we have our tools. So you can make your own tools. In fact, let's make one real quickly. Let me grab some parts. So I prefer to use cobalt because it has the highest mining speed. And let's get a binding. About, I don't know. That sounds good. And I get a tool rod, if I can spell rod. I get a slime tool rod. So, pull up your tool forge. Basically, insert them there. Now I have a pickaxe with reinforced 2 on it. You can see my durability. I have 1200 uses on this and a mining speed of 11. And then also some modifiers. But like I said, don't want to get too far into Tinker's Construct. But since I'm still creative, actually I'm not creative. And you can see the mining speed just like that. So that's how we build our tools. And then of course with our vanilla tools, same thing applies. Alright, so you've got your tools now, and you got your pickaxe. You've been going around doing some digging and doing some mining, and you've gotten some iron ore. So let's talk about ore processing. So ore processing is pretty important because with 140, 150 mods, and then there's some packs that even are higher than that, ore processing is be very important. That way you can stretch your resources as far as they can go. So at the very beginning, if you're kind of stingy like me, you can make what's called a grindstone. Here's a recipe for a grindstone, some Certus quartz. I doubt you'll have any nether quartz, but hey, if you do, if you venture onto the nether, some Certus quartz, some stone, and a wooden gear. So it's a very cheap recipe. If you are interested in what Certus quartz looks like, it's this right here. And when you break it, usually it varies a little bit. Fortune does apply to this, but usually you'll get 1 and 1. That way, so that one we got just 1 quartz. But so that way we got 1 and 1, and that way we got 1 and 1. So it won't take long for you to accumulate the resources to make a grindstone. So plop down your grindstone, and you're gonna make a crank. Just some sticks. Again, very cheap. This is very beginner tier of recipe. You can see I got some inventory slots. Just put it in your inventory slot, and you're just going to hold down right click on it, and you can see that it's turning around and around and around. We'll do a little more. And there we got iron dust. So that way we actually process this through, and we actually doubled our iron output from 1 ore to 2 iron dust. So let me show you one other thing. So we still have 1 iron ore in there. You'll see it'll kind of come to a stop like that. You see it kind of stopped itself. It wasn't a very smooth transition. That means it's finished processing. Now, if I continue to go through or continue to hit right click after it's stopped that point, like that, it will break. Like that. And you'll see we got back only 2 sticks when our initial investment was 5. So that's just something to be wary of when you're doubling your resources the manual way. So let's get into a little bit more automatic resource processing. So you have 2 main lines to go down. There's a few other ones, but we're going to mainly focus on 2. So we have thermal expansions, redstone furnace, and pulverizer, and then IC2 or Industrial Craft 2, electric furnace, and macerator. They both do the same job. They both, and the pulverizer and macerator, they put 1 ore in, and you get 2 dust out. And then as well, you put the dust in a redstone furnace or electric furnace to turn them into ingots. So a recipe, I'm not going to show you recipes on everything, but I just want to show you this one real quick, is you're going to need clay, iron, gold, glass. This one, or these machines, you're just going to need a whole bunch of iron. So that way you can kind of tailor your approach. If you want to go down a thermal expansion route, you know you're going to have to go down a little bit to pick up some gold to make these machines. If you want to go down the IC2 route, you're mainly going to need just iron and copper. Actually, lots of iron. Power systems. We're going to get into power systems on the next segment, but the power systems are going to be a little bit different as well. So let's jump right into power systems. Alright, so let's start talking about the 2 different power networks. So the thermal expansion machines runs off MJs and redstone flux, or RF. You can use RF and MJs interchangeably. There's a little bit of conversion rate. Actually, 10 RF is 1 MJ. So you have to do a little bit of math, but it's pretty simple. RF is just a new iteration from the mod author of thermal expansion off of the MJ power network. IC2 uses EU. So EU is a little bit different. The mainly that you're going to have to, there's several stages of power. So in this case we're talking about right here, you can see on my little tip. So this tooltip on the top is called WALIA, or it's an acronym for what am I looking at. You can see max power 32 EU tick. So that's also called LV, or low voltage. So when you get into IC2, you have to be very wary about voltages and what machine can accept which power. If you give, let's say if I gave this macerator more power than it requires, more than 32 EU tick, it's going to blow up. So it's a little bit harder to work with until you understand the system. Once you understand the system, it goes pretty easy. So let's talk about how to power each of these. So on the IC2 side, we have a generator, which basically will burn anything that will produce power. So let's coals could be your starter fuel mainly. You can see it does have an internal buffer, and since both of these machines are adjacent, it will share power without any wires. So you can see on the Walia, you can see they're both building up a little bit of their internal buffer. So pretty cool, right? There's also a geothermal generator that will, you can see this one outputs 10 EU tick, and the geothermal actually outputs 20 EU tick. So it does have double the power output, but we're still under that 32 EU cap. But you're going to have to use lava, right? So what we're talking about right now is just basically low tier beginning power. So a quick way to power this IC2 setup is just to throw down a generator with some coal and let it work. So you can see it's actually stopped using the coal, it's filled up his internal buffer, and it's filled up the buffer of these two machines. So pretty cool. So I want to show you one other little issue with IC2. So we have this electric furnace right here. I'm going to use my pickaxe on it. And furnace. Now if I used it on the macerator, you see that I got back a basic machine casing. But that didn't happen on the electric furnace. So you have to use caution when breaking these machines, or you'll just get a machine casing back out. Quick way to remedy this is to make a wrench, which is some bronze. Bronze ingots is copper and tin at a ratio. So just right click on that, and we picked up our macerator. So that's kind of the IC2 setup. Now let's jump over here to thermal expansion. Put this away. There's multiple ways to power thermal expansion machines. A very beginner tier machine is a clockwork engine. Come on now. So this is a great segue. If you do have it go in the wrong direction, you can just grab a BC wrench from NEI, or you can actually you have to make one. Quick recipe: iron, stone gear. And then we'll just rotate. Maybe. Come on, what's the deal? It doesn't want to seem to rotate. Very odd. Anyway, so we got it placed down. It is what it is. And you actually can right click on this clockwork engine from forestry, and you can see it actually changing colors. And let's grab a lever maybe. Okay, so this clockwork engine seems to be kind of broken. So let's just not worry about that. So let's jump into some of the other ones. So a really good and easy one is the steam dynamo. Pretty easy, bunch of copper and a little bit of silver. And you can power it right onto the face of that. So here's the GUI for that. So you're going to need water and a fuel source. Coal would be great. And then this will work. And this will output at, I believe, this will put out 80 RF a tick. Or if you do the conversion, that's actually 8 MJs a tick. So it's a very good one to work with. We also have a magmatic. Magmatic, again, uses lava, and it can output, again, for 80 RF a tick. So basically, they're kind of similar in what they can use. With these machines, you can actually break with a pickaxe, though. Or grab a wrench and shift right click to pop them off. Very easy. So you can also make some of this leadstone energy conduit. So there's the recipe: a couple pieces of lead, some redstone, some glass. It'll give you 6. So basically, this is a piping system for our power. So pop it right there. So now I can power both machines at the same time with my steam dynamo. Alright, so let's jump into the interfaces of this pulverizer and this redstone. We'll show you something. So we see I have no power, so it shows you your internal buffer. This is, you can see each of these sides is actually color coded. Blue is an input, red is an output. So let's say a configuration. So I want to input off the top slot into here, the pulverize, and I'm going to output the right side. And in here, left side is the input, right side is the output. So these thermal expansion machines will actually auto-eject to an adjacent inventory. So if I put a chest down right here, anything that's processed through will automatically get ejected to this chest. So this is a really easy way to set up. Put a hopper here with a chest, dump all your ores in here, and then they'll process through the pulverizer, go straight into the furnace, and then straight out to your chest. Very simplistic, not much maintenance, just to keep some power in there. With the macerators and the electric furnace, there's no sharing of inventory space like that, so you actually will have to do some piping, or there's another little thing that you can make. So, but as it stands right here, no item transfer. This is your only item transfer. A little bit simplistic power system. Got to be a little more careful here. There's also several different power sources that you can use from both thermal expansion and buildcraft. So here's a combustion engine that can run on oil and fuel. This Stirling engine is basically same as a steam dynamo. So multiple ways to power your network in the very beginning tier. So let's jump into the next portion. All right, let's just talk about power storage for thermal expansion for MJs and RF. So let's say we have a little power plant right here, and you got a handful of steam dynamos, and you just got one magmatic just for funds. So what you can do is there's a couple tiers of power storage, and what they're called is energy cells. So you have a leadstone, which is your absolute low tier, your hardened, which is still relatively low tier, and then you have a redstone, which is on your higher end, and your resonant, which is your absolute high tier. These two involved a couple more machines, so we're going to stick to talking about a leadstone and hardened for right now. So to make a leadstone, copper, it's electrum. Electrum is gold and silver. And then otherwise, it's some lead and a block of redstone. To make a hardened one, it's basically the same recipe, but you need Invar. And to make Invar, you need Invar blend, which is a combination of iron and ferrous. So again, it's not too hard to come up with. So let's make a hardened energy cell. Now let's talk about that. So we're just going to stick that down. So you can see right here, this has got some blue dots. All the sides have. So let's click on it. Actually, one other thing I should show you. So it says press shift for details. You can see I can hold 400 RF, and the send and receive is 80 RF a tick. You can see you go over the harden, it's a 4 times, was it 4 or 5 times? It's quite a significant difference between the two. So that's why I chose a hard one. Alright, so let's click on here. You can change your inputs and outputs and say if you want to do like an buffer, or if you only want a certain machine to get a certain RF. And then here you go into configuration. So you remember we have this conduit coming in on the left side. So we need that blue is for input, yellow is kind of a neutral, and orange is an output. So you can see orange right here. So on this case right here, we'd be importing on the left and exporting on the right. So that's kind of how that system works. So you can step up through the tiers based on how much power you need. So let me show you one other thing while I'm actually in the thermal expansion tab. So you may ask yourself, well, how do I keep these things filled up with water? Because they're always running out of water, and the steam dynamos is what I'm referring to. So let me show you a little quick, easy way to keep these things going. So I'm going to grab a aqueous accumulator, which is pretty cheap, and some fluid ducts. And then I grab a little bit of water. 2 buckets to be exact. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this fluid duct, run it to the back side of these steam dynamos, and I'm going to run it to right there. Press down the aqueous accumulator. And the aqueous accumulator needs 2 water sources to run, just kind of like an infinite water system. So now you can see it does have water, and it's exporting the water. The aqueous accumulator does not need power, and now all these will always stay filled with water. So let's grab some coal. Actually, I got coal block in my inventory. We'll put a coal block in each one of these. Cool. So now we have both 4 steam dynamos running. They're always going to be filled with water. Not going to ever run out of water. And they are now importing their power to this hardened energy cell. So that's how you do the thermal expansion way of storing power. So let's jump over to the IC2 side. IC2 side is a little bit more complicated because, remember, I was talking about how there's multiple tiers of storage, or I'm sorry, multiple tiers of voltage. So IC2. So your low tier is going to be a bat box. So you can see on the tooltips, it can output 32 EU a tick and a capacity of 40,000 EU. I definitely recommend you going into the IC2 website and kind of getting used to the terms if you're going to focus in on IC2. So on their mid-tier storage block is a CESU. So CESU can output 128 EU and can hold 300,000. So that's 40, and then there you get 300. So remember this. So this is 128 EU a tick. So if I jump up to let's say a mass electric furnace, so you can see it says 32 EU a tick max. This is 128. So a CESU would blow this thing up because it's giving too much power. MFE is your next tier up and outputs 512, but can store 4 million EU. And your high tier is a MFSU, what outputs EV, extreme voltage, and can store 40 million EU. So you're I'm sure you're asking yourself, well, how am I going to be able to use these with the things that only can accept low voltage? Well, it's not too big of a problem. You can see right here we have transformers. We have LV transformer, NV, and HV. So I'm going to grab a wrench right here, and we'll set these up a little bit. Okay, so I just tossed down a CESU. So you see the little dot right here? That's going to be where your power comes out, and the remaining sides are an input. Alright? So let's say I am using a CESU, but I'm running my low tier machines. So I need to down convert from, remember, 128 EU a tick to LV, 32 EU a tick. So let's put this down. We'll put it right here. So you got 5 dots on this side, and the rest of them are 1. So, kind of like this machine, but different, is that's the 1 dot is the export. This one is the import because it's different than the rest. So basically you have 1 line in, then you could take 5 lines out. So let me grab some cable. While we talk about the cable, so we have copper cable, which is capable of transferring 128. So again, macerator can only accept 32 EU a tick. Just because you hook up a copper cable doesn't mean it's going to get 128. Basically, that's the absolute max it can transfer. It can transfer 128 EU a tick, no problem. The tin cable is capable of producing 32 EU a tick, which is there. A gold is 512, and then our insulin HV, which is EV. So since we're down converting from 128 to 32, we're going to need at least a copper cable at the bare minimum. So I'm going to hook that up. So he hooks up just nicely like that. And let's throw down actually, we'll switch to IC2 again. Throw down a generator. And throw down some coal. Sorry about the typing. I guess got a new keyboard and it's taking a little bit of time to get used to. Alright, coal. So this is going to start building up power here. Alright, let me switch back to IC2 now. So let's say we wanted to run our machines off of this. So you can take it out whichever side you want, no big deal. And I want to run my electric furnace. So that's how your basic setup would go if you want to run, let's say you want to run the macerator on this side. So no big deal. You can also place them right on top. Let's say here's an extractor. You can also place them right on top, and then you see that it's getting power. And it's not overpowering any of these machines. So you have multiple tiers, just like with thermal expansion, of power storage. But again, with IC2, you have to take in the voltage into consideration when you're powering your machines. I want to show you one other quick thing before we go. And I need to type in upgrade because I don't see it right there. Upgrade. So we see we have right here, we have this transformer upgrade from IC2. There's a recipe, takes a MV transformer. So now say if let's say I put it in this macerator. So remember, this macerator used to be only able to take 32 EU a tick. And you can see on my Walia tooltip, it says it now can take 512. So if I switched over to copper cable again, I could run this straight from the CESU without it blowing up because it does have that transformer upgrade and can take that extra power. So this is your choices where you can either upgrade the machine with a transformer or you can down convert the power to meet your machines. So you can keep that in mind. One other thing that may not be as obvious, and I had a little bit of trouble understanding it when I first started. So let's talk about this. Let's say a macerator uses 2 EU a tick. All right? And let's say you had 18 macerators. I don't know why you need that much, but let's say you just had 18 macerators. Well, each of them are drawing 2 EU ticks, so that's a total of 36 EU total. So you would not be able to supply it with just a regular LV cable. You'd have to split it up or do some kind of conversion. Basically, the power is going to accumulate in the long run. So keep that in mind, and when you're designing your systems, it may be cheaper just to go ahead and upgrade them individually or split them off and separate them based on how much absolute power you can give. And each of them draw a little bit different power. Like so, the extractor draws 2, and the electric furnace draws 3. All right, so that kind of covers your basic storage for both thermal expansion and IC2. All right, now let's start talking about item storage. So you can see I kind of set this system up. I'll just show you how it's working real easy. So toss 1 iron ore into a pulverizer, output 2 pulverized iron into the furnace, and you can see got some iron coming through now. So like I was saying, very easy setup. So let's talk about item storage now. So you have a couple different ways. So you're probably going to start out with a bunch of vanilla chests at first, and this mod actually has a mod called iron chest and obsidian chest. And basically what they are, actually let me break you so I can show you the quick recipes and how the recipes work. So to make an iron chest, you can surround a vanilla chest with iron, or you can make an upgrade, which is a piece of wood surrounded by iron that you can come and click on it. So let me grab one more vanilla chest. Alright, so you can see the inventory space, how much we have in a double vanilla chest. You can see we have the same inventory in an iron chest, but half the size. And then you can keep progressing up the tiers of storage. Trees in the way. See a little bit bigger, then a little bit bigger, then bigger. and then we have a very large size couple chests right here. There's also one more called a crystal chest. There it is. That looks pretty cool, and will actually render items in there for you. So I think it takes the top 6 largest stack of items and actually will render them. So that's kind of getting into your chest type of item storage. So let's also talk about barrels now. So barrels is a mod by factorization. So let's get into just a regular barrel right there. Oakwood factorization. Alright. So let's see. Oh, so there's a few upgrades to the barrel right there. But we'll grab this barrel right here. So what I can do is I can come and I can store 64 stacks of items. So barrels are really good for storing like your cobble and your wood and your dirt and your sand, because it can store a lot of items in just a one block system versus tying up a whole vanilla chest or an iron chest. Got some pretty good interfaces with it. So if I'm going to left click on it, I'm going to get back 1 stack or everything minus 1. So I got back 59. So if let me grab one more stack of iron to show this. Also, with the barrels, it kind of makes sense, but it can only store 1 item since there's only 1 slot. So if I left click, I'm going to get 1 stack. Left click again, it's going to give me everything to leave but leave 1 item. If I click on it one more time, it'll give me that final item. If I double right click on it, it'll take all that all the iron from my inventory in this case and put it in there. So it's a great way to empty out your cobblestone. You come up to barrel, double right click with a piece of cobblestone in your hand, and it'll empty it all out. So it's a great way to clear out your inventory. If I come up and shift right click, or shift left click, I'm sorry, you'll see I get 1 item at a time, and then I can put it back all back with a right click. So that kind of gets into your item storage. If you get into another mod pack, you also have Java barrels. Java barrels work a lot like factorization, but they have the ability to scale up and down based on what kind of resources you put into it. Alright guys, thanks for joining me on this part 1 of the Beginner's Guide, Introduction to Modded Minecraft. If you liked the video, definitely give me a thumbs up. Be sure to slap that subscribe button and check out some of the other videos I have going on, and I will see you guys back for part 2 of the series.